Stop for a moment. Take a deep breath. What you're about to read is not another casual headline or sensational rumor. It is a story so unsettling that it shakes the very foundation of trust, faith, and community. It's about betrayal hidden behind religious robes, secrets disguised as holiness, and accusations so heavy that they leave people questioning everything they thought was sacred. At the center of this storm stands Bishop T.D. Jakes, one of the most famous preachers in the world. For years, his name symbolized power, hope, and inspiration. He filled stadiums with crowds of believers. Millions tuned into his sermons for guidance, encouragement, and miracles. To many, he was more than a man, he was a spiritual father. But behind the bright lights, the pulpit, and the praise, a shadow began to grow, and once it was revealed, nothing could erase it. The unraveling started not with an investigation or a news report, but with a single anonymous email. At first, it looked ordinary, but when a journalist opened it, the contents were chilling. The message accused Bishop Jakes of things no one wanted to believe. It didn't just hint at wrongdoing, it directly tied his name to powerful scandals already surrounding the entertainment mogul Sean Diddy Combs. The email claimed that Jakes was not only connected to manipulation and abuse, but also to something far worse: children disappearing under mysterious circumstances. At first, the allegations sounded too outrageous to be real. Yet, as the story spread, whispers that had long been ignored suddenly gained traction. Then came the testimony that forced the world to listen. Dwayne Youngblood, a convicted sex offender, stepped forward in court and made an explosive claim. Bishop Jakes groomed me, he abused me, he took my trust and destroyed it. The courtroom went silent. Devoted church members wept, others denied the claims, but no one could ignore the shockwaves. Some argued it was a lie from a man with a criminal record. Others believed it was courage from someone finally speaking out. Either way, the story had escaped the shadows. As the accusations grew, attorney Tyrone Blackburn took on the case. He was already known for representing alleged victims in lawsuits against Diddy. He knew how to take on powerful figures, but this case was unlike anything he had faced. Shockingly, the court turned on Blackburn himself, accusing him of using AI software to write his legal filings. He was fined $76,000 for unprofessional conduct. The media jumped on the story. Some called him reckless. Others painted him as a fighter, willing to risk everything to uncover the truth. But then Blackburn made another announcement that deepened the crisis. He claimed a second victim had stepped forward, Richard Brandon Coleman, Jake's former son-in-law. Coleman, who was serving prison time for child sexual assault charges, claimed that Bishop Jakes himself had abused him when he was younger. His words, delivered from behind bars, shook the court. "He did it to me too. He used his power to control me." The public was divided. Could a man convicted of such crimes be trusted? Or was this confession part of a much bigger truth? The darkest part of the scandal was yet to come. Reports leaked that children connected to church programs had gone missing. 6 children, according to the claims, vanished without explanation. Parents searched desperately for answers. When investigators tried to review the church's security cameras, the footage was mysteriously gone, deleted from the system. This fueled suspicion of a cover-up. Was the church hiding something? Why did records disappear exactly when they were needed most? Even Bishop Jakes' daughter, Cora, became entangled in the scandal. Once admired as a woman of faith, she faced accusations of manipulating a close friend into signing over custody of her child. The mother later broke down in tears on television. "I trusted her. She told me it was God's plan, and then she took my son from me." Her story spread rapidly online. Hashtags like #WhereAreTheChildren began trending, with parents and activists demanding answers. Then came another shocking piece of evidence, a leaked voice note. In the recording, an unidentified voice whispered, "We need to hide the children, or everything will fall apart." The internet erupted. People asked, whose voice was it? Was it a pastor, a family member, or someone inside the church leadership. No one could confirm, but the damage was done. Soon, the faces of missing children began appearing on social media. Parents stood outside church gates holding signs that read, "Where is my child?" and "God does not hide innocence." Videos of mothers crying into cameras went viral. The public was split. Some still defended Bishop Jakes, saying he was being unfairly targeted. Others were convinced a massive cover-up was taking place. The tension was unbearable. Sermons that once brought comfort were now replayed with suspicion, as people searched for hidden meanings. Hands raised in prayer no longer looked like symbols of salvation, but like masks hiding secrets. During a press conference, Tyrone Blackburn made a chilling claim. "This isn't about one victim. This is a network, a system of power, faith, and silence designed to protect predators and punish truth." He refused to give details, but his words painted a picture of something larger than any single preacher, a web of influence that reached deep into churches, courts, and communities. Then, a diary allegedly belonging to the mother of a missing child surfaced. Its pages were filled with frantic notes about church meetings, strange disappearances, and cryptic warnings. One chilling line read, "They told me my son is safe in God's house, but why can't I see him? Why is his name gone from the Sunday school list, whether authentic or not?" The diary fueled theories that children were being taken under the cover of religious programs. Meanwhile, Coleman, speaking from prison, insisted he was being framed. Leaked phone calls revealed him saying, "I wasn't the one hiding kids. Look higher. Look at them." His words hinted that he might have been used as a scapegoat, a convenient target, while others remained untouched. The internet exploded again. When a blurry photo surfaced online, it showed 6 children standing in a dimly lit room, said to be a church basement. Their faces looked pale and frightened. The caption read, "They never came home." Skeptics argued it was fake or AI generated, but for grieving families, it was proof their worst fears were real. Soon after, a disturbing audio clip leaked. A raspy voice whispered, "If the kids talk, everything we've built will burn." No one knew whose voice it was, but millions heard it. For many, it was the final confirmation that something dark was hiding behind the church walls. By now, the image of Bishop T.D. Jakes was no longer untouchable. The man once praised as a shepherd guiding souls was now seen by many as standing in the middle of a nightmare filled with abuse claims, missing children, and whispers of corruption. 2 sides emerged. Some said Jakes was a victim of lies, unfairly dragged into scandals. Others believed he was the mastermind of a carefully hidden empire of manipulation. Regardless of opinion, one undeniable truth remained: children were missing, families were suffering, and faith itself was deeply shaken. Most scandals fade with time, lawsuits end, accusations quiet down, and the news cycle moves on. But this story refuses to die. Every time it seems the dust might settle, another revelation surfaces, another testimony, another leak, another whisper. And through it all, one haunting question continues to echo: is Bishop T.D. Jakes a victim of lies, or is this the darkest truth the church has ever hidden? Because whether you believe the accusations or not, one fact cannot be ignored: innocence has been lost, trust has been broken, and lives may never be the same again. This isn't just a scandal. It's a battle for truth. And in that battle, the first casualty has been faith itself. A former employee of the church stepped forward with files that shook everything people thought they knew. These weren't just rumors or whispered suspicions, these were financial records, bank statements, and documents that showed money moving through supposed youth programs that, in reality, did not even exist. Thousands of dollars, sometimes millions, were being funneled into accounts labeled for children's outreach. Yet, when people looked deeper, no such outreach programs could be found. There were no receipts, no evidence of projects, no actual activities for children, just blank spaces where there should have been hope and help. The money was disappearing as if it had been swallowed whole by the shadows. If these documents were true, the implications were devastating. This was not just a matter of moral weakness or spiritual corruption, it was fraud. It was money laundering. It was the creation of a financial empire built on lies, where the most sacred image, helping children, was allegedly nothing more than a cover story, a mask for something far darker. And yet, in the middle of the storm, Bishop T.D. Jakes stood calmly on stage as if untouched by the chaos. He lifted his hands in prayer, preached as though nothing had changed, and denied every accusation thrown his way. To his loyal followers, this was proof of his innocence. They saw him as a man under attack, a holy leader caught in a witch hunt designed to drag him through the mud. But to critics, his calmness looked less like faith and more like arrogance. The divide was brutal. Entire churches split apart. Families stopped speaking to one another. Pastors who once quoted his sermons every Sunday now condemned him publicly, while others doubled down in his defense. Communities fractured, not only over matters of faith, but over a haunting question: had innocence been destroyed by the very hands that once promised to protect it? The missing children became the heart of the storm. Their names were carved into protest chants. Their faces appeared on posters waved in the streets. Their stories became weapons in heated debates across homes, pulpits, and social media feeds. The pressure surrounding the church was unbearable. Protesters crowded outside his massive church buildings, holding signs, shouting for answers, and crying out for justice. Videos spread online showing mothers fainting on the pavement, fathers banging their fists against locked doors, while rows of police stood shoulder to shoulder to keep the chaos from spilling inside. And then, the story escalated with another shocking revelation. A batch of emails, allegedly leaked by someone inside the church, hit the public. These emails hinted at secret settlements payments made to silence families who had previously raised complaints. One chilling line from an email read, "If this leaks, the ministry is finished. Do what it takes." For many, this was the breaking point. What began with whispers of one anonymous email spiraled into an all-out war over faith, truth, and survival. By this stage, the story was no longer about whether every allegation was true or not. It was about the wreckage left behind, the shattered image of a respected leader, communities split down the middle, missing children whose names had become rallying cries for justice, and a pastor who once stood as the voice of God now appearing to be the symbol of everything people feared about unchecked power hidden behind religious walls. The courtroom was supposed to be the place where truth would finally speak. Instead, it became a theater of chaos, a stage where faith, lies, and desperation collided in full view of the world. From the very beginning of the trial, tension filled the air so heavily it felt suffocating. Families of the alleged victims sat quietly in the front rows, clutching photographs of missing children to their chests. Protesters filled the hallways of the courthouse, their chants echoing so loudly that the judge had to slam his gavel again and again just to restore order. Cameras flashed, reporters shouted questions, and the whole atmosphere felt less like justice and more like a war zone. Then the testimonies began. One of the first to take the stand was Dwayne Youngblood. Once convicted, disgraced, and labeled by many as untrustworthy, he now sat before the jury and spoke with a trembling voice. "I was a child," he said, his eyes fixed on the jurors. "He told me it was God's will, and I believed him." His voice cracked as tears filled his eyes. For a moment, even those who doubted him went silent. But before the weight of his words could settle, the defense team struck back. They dissected his criminal record, dragging every mistake of his past into the open. They painted him as nothing more than a liar hungry for attention. The courtroom turned into a battlefield of emotion. Some jurors leaned forward, listening with sympathy, while others pulled back, disgust clear on their faces. Then came the most shocking twist of all. A surprise witness, a former staffer from inside the church, appeared, their face hidden and voice disguised for safety. Under oath, they testified that children had indeed gone missing, that complaints were deliberately silenced, and that senior leaders ordered evidence to be destroyed. Their words landed like an explosion. Gasps filled the room. Bishop Jake remained motionless in his seat, but those watching closely swore his eyes betrayed something: fear, anger, or maybe both. The prosecution pressed forward, unveiling sealed documents. These were settlement agreements, confidential payouts made to families who had once demanded justice, but were later silenced with staggering sums of money. Some settlements reached over $1 million. The jury's expressions hardened. Reporters rushed out of the courtroom to broadcast the revelation. Social media exploded instantly. Hashtags trended. Live streams hit record numbers. The trial was no longer a courtroom drama. It had become the collapse of an empire, unfolding in real time. But the chaos only deepened when Cora Jake, his daughter, was called to testify. She entered the courtroom composed, holding a Bible in her hands. For a moment, she looked uncheckable. Yet, as questions piled on, her calm exterior crumbled. Allegations surfaced that she had manipulated her best friend into giving up her child. Emails suggested she pressured women, claiming it was God's will. Former church members pointed fingers at her, calling her a predator hiding behind religion. Then came the recording that broke the internet. Played aloud in the courtroom, her unmistakable voice said, "God wanted me to have that child. Sometimes his will looks like sacrifice." The room erupted. Mothers cried out, protesters screamed, the judge slammed his gavel, but order was impossible. Cora froze in place, tears streaming down her face. Yet she offered no denial. By then, the trial had expanded far beyond T.D. Jake himself. It had consumed his family, his church, his entire empire. Richard Brandon Coleman, her ex-husband and one-time alleged victim, was next. Shackled and escorted by guards, he entered the courtroom with fire in his eyes. His testimony was blistering. "They painted me as the monster," he shouted. "But the real monster sits right there. He ruined me when I was a boy and then used me as the scapegoat. Look at me. Do I look like a mastermind, or do I look like the sacrifice they needed to protect their empire?" The courtroom fell into stunned silence. Even the judge seemed shaken. But the defense struck again, labeling him a convicted predator and accusing him of twisting lies to escape his guilt. Coleman's voice cracked as guards dragged him away. "You can bury me in this prison, but the truth is already out. One day, the children they silenced will speak louder than all of us." As if the courtroom hadn't seen enough chaos, another leak hit the media. This time it was a video, blurry but powerful, showing what looked like a closed-door church meeting. In it, men in suits were heard discussing how to handle claims about missing children. One voice, strikingly similar to a senior leader, said, "Delete the footage. Seal the records. Protect the ministry at all costs." The video went viral within minutes. Outrage boiled over into riots outside the courthouse. Police cars were flipped, windows shattered, crowds screamed for justice. Inside, jurors begged for protection. The judge demanded order. The prosecution pushed for immediate arrests, and then, for the first time, T.D. Jake himself rose to his feet. His booming voice echoed through the chamber. "This is a life from hell. I have served God my entire life. You will not destroy me with fabrications." His words shook the room, but instead of restoring faith, they deepened the doubt. Cameras zoomed in on his trembling hands, sweat glistening on his forehead. The cracks in the armor of a man once untouchable were now visible to the world. By the end of that day, the trial was suspended. But the damage was already irreversible. The world had seen too much: the whispers of abuse, the shadows of missing children, the hints of cover-ups, all dragged into the light. His once golden legacy now dripped in scandal. Outside, the cries of broken families echoed into the night. Where are the children? This was no longer just a scandal. It was a tragedy. A tragedy that millions would never forget. The final image burned into every screen was unforgettable. Bishop T.D. Jake, once a student of faith, now standing in ruins of his own empire. This was not just another courtroom drama. It was the collapse of an empire built on faith, worship, and trust, now drowning in allegations, betrayals, and broken lives. Families lay shattered, children's names echoed through the silence, and the man once hailed as a agent of God now stood as a shadow, struggling to protect a legacy that might never be restored. The haunting question that lingers is one the world cannot ignore. Where is the truth? Were the cries of the innocent buried under money, power, and influence? Or has a man been dragged into a fire of lies fueled by those desperate for revenge? The world may never know the full story, but one truth is undeniable: the faith of millions has been shaken to its very core. People who once filled pews with songs of worship now sit in disbelief, wondering if the voice they trusted was only a mask. Children who grew up idolizing their leader now face the horror that their faith may have been built on a foundation of tragedy. And perhaps the most heartbreaking truth of all: no verdict, no sentence, and no headline will ever heal the pain of those who feel forgotten, silenced, or betrayed. This was not just the downfall of one man. It was the unraveling of a community, a family, and a belief system that many thought could never break. So, the question remains: is this the price of blind faith, or the proof that even the most powerful can fall? One thing is certain: nothing will ever be the same again.